Okay, everyone, I think it's time to start. Success pillars. 4 pillars. User acquisition, because without users, without players, well, you won't make much money with your game. How could we acquire users aside from marketing? One thing I'm thinking about is organics. That is a big topic we have to consider as well. How do we generate organics? Meaning people who get into your game without that you have to do anything, basically. One way is making your game really, really accessible, for example. And this is another topic here, actually. Accessibility. We see that on the slide now. Most of the time, we think of a game as something that has to be really engaging and fun, and then people will play it. However, there's a lot of examples on the market where games are engaging and fun, but people still don't play it because these games are not accessible to them. Monetization, obviously, is always a really important thing, and it can be extremely complex. Engagement. What is engagement? So why do people play games? I've been asking this question a lot, actually, to thousands of people by now. This was around 100 people I asked. The bigger the word, the more people mentioned that particular thing. And what we see here in the center is fun. Why do you play games? Because of fun. Usually people would say that game is fun. Achiever, killer, explorer, and socializer. Yeah, that is Bartel. Bartel is outdated. Bartel himself said many years ago, his model is outdated. So many game designers, so many million-dollar projects are still based on Bartel, a model that has been done in the 90s, tested on people who have been playing MMORPGs in the 90s. Imagine these kind of people. What kind of target group is that? Who played, I mean, just of you guys, who played MMORPGs in the 90s? And now we still use it for all kind of other genres, for all kind of demographics, all the way. We still use Bartel, and Bartel himself already said his stuff is to biggest degree useless for most games out there. That is one of the main reasons why I do these sessions. This is all outdated stuff. We need to push more science into game development. I've been talking to my sister about it, who is a game design student. She just recently asked me what my thoughts are on Concord, why it failed. Because they didn't understand accessibility. They had a minimum viable product, put it on the market, because Sony still doesn't understand accessibility. I think it's a really decent game. It's not because they had bad character designs. It's not because they had bad gameplay or anything like that. That was all okay, but still failing because price point plus MVP approach, which are two contradicting models. Please try to forget about Bartel. I will teach you some better things here. If you want to understand all the players out there, if you want to understand why humans play games, you don't just only ask game developers. You ask everyone, even the people who don't play games. Based on the data, pay to win is still the most successful monetization method. I know a lot of you will hate that I say this. However, the trick is that people don't realize it's pay to win. The term pay to win is something extremely subjective. Technically, a lot of the games which are loved by the players out there are pay to win, but nobody realizes it because it's invisible pay to win. How can you create powerful pay to win based monetization without that anyone would complain about the fact that it's pay to win? Can you give an example of a game that is subtly pay to win? A lot of strategy games or RPG games on mobile do that. They have their monetization spread so much all across the game that you would have to spend a lot of money to truly have big advantages within the game, so that it will always feel like whenever you spend only a little bit of money that you don't really have an advantage, but it still feels good for you. We would also have to define what a win actually is. Is a win the mere win condition you program into a game? Or is a win already when your friends say, wow, that is an incredible outfit, I want to have that too. Where did you get it? Well, I paid for it. From the psychological perspective, that is a big win, but it's not a winning condition within the game necessarily, not like a hardly programmed. How important is the win? If we are now in a big mobile game tournament and there is that win button now and you pay $100 and then you win the tournament, that is absolutely not okay. Nobody would appreciate that. If it's in a hyper casual game where you don't even play against other players and you know that pushing this button will just make you feel better and you win the game, then apparently it is okay to many users. We are all just like whining about pay to win is so evil. It's not that easy. It's not just black and white. Björn says, if looking cool is my goal, then getting skins in Overwatch is a win essentially. This is a question we have to discuss. Having that skin is not a winning condition, but people still have a social win from it. And actually, socializing is more important than winning in your game usually. So it's maybe even more of a win. But people don't think of it as a win because in the game we don't say it is a win. If we say pay to win, no, we don't want to do this, we will never tackle that topic properly. If we say pay to win, well, yeah, apparently it's not just black and white. What is an actual win for the brain of the player? And what is a win within the conditions of the game? Can we maybe like separate that and focus on what a win is in the brain of a player and monetize that thing? I think that is top-notch design.
I have this studio called Tactile Studios. It's primarily a service-oriented company. We do outsourcing. We work on HTML5 games. We work on Unity games and a bit of Unreal. For our independent games, we typically have a formula in terms of whenever we develop something. When we design our games, we follow this philosophy. So there are the three C's. There's community, competition, and content. Right. So for us, whenever we design a project or a game, we target a specific niche. So the game that we're building is called Mecha Blitz. It is a mecha game. This game is all about mechs. You basically put something. You have a mecha, and then you build and customize it. You can customize your weapons, your armor, and then from there you choose a map to fight and compete in, and then you fight against other people. So that's the basic idea. We are still in development right now. We're actually having challenges in terms of figuring out how to move forward, and this is the reason why we approached Patrick in terms of basically asking for assistance in terms of how to figure out how to move forward. The tournament version, the PvP version, is actually running already, and what we're trying to do now is basically building the full version of the game, which is essentially the story mode, the campaign mode, because we find two types of players. We've defined that some players we have are more competitive and others are more care more about stories and narrative.
Last time James and I spoke, we were also thinking about how we can test something as soon as possible on the market, going a certain direction now. And we were having to we had to make a decision on which direction that would be. And at the moment, it's like we're going to focus on mobile devices and create the MVP there in order to see if there is even an audience for mecha games. These are the type of games we are seeing if it comes to such theme robot fighting games. 3D widescreen mode, landscape mode, basically the type of controller controls almost a little bit like an emulated controller, right? And almost all the games I've been seeing on the market are like this. I saw in the past that there's lots of interest, for example, in 3D airplane games. People like to fly around in airplanes. They like that stuff. And the issue with these kind of airplane games was that they are all landscape mode and difficult to control. Like this game here, it's not really accessible. It looks kind of cool for people who like these themes. They would probably download it. But then they might also struggle with difficult controls. These controls are made for actual gamers, which is good because this is also an engaged audience and stuff, and they are also more eager to play such type of games and pay for these type of games. That's a great thing. However, what I couldn't find was a very accessible version of this. And again, going back to my airplane example, when I saw like a few years ago, 7 years ago or something, that there are so many 3D airplane games out there which are difficult to control and everything, I thought like, why aren't there any super accessible ones? Like maybe portrait mode, maybe one finger control and stuff. And what I did at that time was I was using the opportunity because at that time I already knew about accessibility, and that accessibility can beat engagement. These games are super engaging. There's so much cool stuff going on here. And also a lot of depth potentially and gameplay complexity. They're just not accessible, meaning a lot of players will drop out in the first seconds probably already because it's just too difficult for them. My proof at that time was, let's see if I find something like this. That was my 3D airplane game I made. It was one finger controls. Everything you do, shooting, doing barrel rolls, and even doing loopings, dodging, all that stuff, only with one finger controls and swipes. That worked. We had more than 2 million downloads with that game. Just using something that apparently seems engaging already, something that has a lot of downloads on the market, but making it more accessible. Now, a potential strategy for Tactile Studios, for James Studio, is creating a mecha game, which people download. We already know it. We see the downloads. People love that stuff. But make this much more accessible so we actually get a big piece of the cake that nobody else apparently wanted, because there are no, I have checked it, I didn't find any accessible mecha games on the market. And maybe you checked it better than me, maybe you found some, but I didn't. So it's basically a niche. Make this but more accessible.
So this is our game. This is Mecha Blitz. You can make mechs and you can fight your friends online. That's the general idea.
The stuff we're seeing here, that would usually not be the first thing people see when they get into the game. That would actually be a little bit tricky because in the beginning it needs to be super accessible at best, especially when we focus now on the mobile version. What is really important that people enjoy the game in the first few seconds. So something needs to happen, the gameplay has to click right away and so on. That's what we want. However, this kind of gameplay depth we're seeing here, mechas have a lot of potential for monetization, for engagement and so on. The version we're seeing here now is the PC version, right?
Yes, but this is also our planned mobile version. We're trying to match them also.
Yeah.
Match them up.
Yeah.
Make a cross-playable build, basically.
That is the idea at the moment, that we focus on the mobile market first. We basically have 3 different versions of the game, and we want to create a version that is fun, just like the gameplay you're seeing here now on screen, and engaging and accessible at the same time. One of the ideas, and it was a little bit me who pushed that, and I'm still not sure what the team thinks about it, but maybe they will let us know now. I thought a Vampire Survivors type of version of this game could be really engaging, and then focusing, like coming from that standpoint and adding multiplayer matches which are basically already existing into it as additional, not like an additional mode, but sometimes we even had the idea that it could be the boss fight in the end. That the boss fight in the end is actually a multiplayer match or something like this after the session of when you survive long enough in a Vampire Survivor type of thing or something. The reason why an idea like this came up was because we need something that is as addictive as possible right away by just playing the game. Vampire Survivors did a really great job at this. You start playing the game, it's highly accessible, but accessible doesn't mean it cannot be complex, because Vampire Survivors is a really complex game, but it's so simple to play up first and so simple already to get addicted to it and keep playing it and so on. But if we achieve this with this game, there's a really good chance people stick to it, and then we can transition them also to the multiplayer part more and more, and maybe even build something like clans and these kind of things, which are extremely strong engagement drivers and potentially also set a great base for monetization in the end. We got the demo day next time. It is planned for the 17th of September to do a demo play day. That means you may submit your game. We will play your game together for like 1 hour or maybe even a little bit more, and we will entirely talk about this and do our best together as a community to improve this. And we will set the focus the way you want to. If you want to focus on the tutorial because you maybe don't have good day one retention, we can do so. If you have a premium game and you're not sure if your game is fun enough, if it's like good enough to compete with similar games or anything like this, we can talk about that. If you have problems with your monetization systems, we can talk about this as well. Or maybe even marketing if you like. That makes sense too. So for the next session, feel free to write me. Let me know if you're interested in having your game being played here on stage, basically. Thank you very much for the session. This is now your last chance if you have any questions. Otherwise, I wish you a nice day and I hope to see you soon again. Take care. Make good games.